Thank you very much indeed to the Isle of Man Chamber of Commerce think tank for giving me this opportunity to answer your 8 questions. This is one take, first time, and what I've got in front of me are your 8 questions on another screen. Perhaps I should have gone and prepared some slides, but if you'd wanted that, perhaps you'd have asked me for written answers to your questions. So if any of your members do actually want to discuss any of the issues that you raise, good issues, important issues that need addressing, I hope the members will get in touch with me, Chris Thomas at chris.thomas@parliament.org.im or on 415-820 or by social media. The first question that you've asked is about the 75% response to your survey that recruiting and I guess also retaining suitably experienced staff has been a challenge for you, whether they be school leavers, on-island recruits or upskilling people here to be able to do jobs further up the employability and value adding scales. Essentially, the challenge, I guess, needs to be addressed in 2 ways. One of those is to make sure that the quality of life is right for the sort of people who would be employed by your members. So that involves making sure that the life opportunities as well as the career opportunities are right on the island, and that includes having a diverse economy. It also includes having good leisure opportunities, but most importantly, there are 2 things, and that's been the same for 3 decades now. The first of those is housing that they can afford and is of the quality that they want, and the second one is off-island travel opportunities, because ultimately any small island can't quite compete with places where they could also be living, and so therefore at least we've got to make available the opportunity to go off-island sufficiently. So my policies around the steam packet, but most importantly around airlines, and working strategically with partners to make sure we have bases on island to help our business, young people, all of us in fact, are very, very crucial. You also ask about regulation, and this is a very hard question to answer because there are all sorts of types of regulation. One thing I would say is that at the moment we have regulation in far too many places, and if I give you an example, for the hospitality, you have to go to Douglas Borough Council for a pavement licence, you have to get planning from the DEFRA planning department, the building control applications are different, fire regulations are in a different place again. Licensing for music, licensing for alcohol are different. Wouldn't it be better if we could have one-stop shop? It might be that your members are talking about financial services regulation. An important point in responding to that is that obviously the international context for the island is crucial. It could be just that you see unfair competition, and basically we've had a lost 10 years when it comes to procurement, proper procurement and proper competition regulation, to my mind, and there's all sorts of stuff that we need to do in terms of regulation, and that's why one of my priorities in 2016-17 when I started as Minister for Policy and Reform was putting in place a regulatory review. Unfortunately that petered out. No point now going into the reasons for that, but I regret it, and we need to start that again and make sure that the regulation that we have is fair, understood and proportionate. Basically only we regulate when necessary. In terms of the top 3 considerations that you want as a business community from government, they all seem entirely reasonable. We do need to basically work with the 5,000 national insurance and employee ITIP payers on the island to make sure that we're supporting you to innovate, to invest and to employ with real jobs. That involves helping you with apprenticeship schemes and helping you with your investments and exports and getting staff. So it seems to me absolutely crucial that the government and business should work together in terms of understanding concerns and addressing those concerns fairly and properly. Obviously there are other interests as alongside those of the business, but it's up to us in public service and as politicians to make sure that we hear, listen and act on what it is we're hoping. I hope that you find that my policy agenda 2021, focusing government on us, is actually a helpful addition to get that long-term stability and that understanding of your needs in a place whereby we can have 5 years of real action to tackle the real challenges we clearly face. We move on now to talk about the post-COVID response. In other words, how will government go about working with you in terms of loans that have been taken out, and also in terms of phasing out the specific grants that have been made, because let's face it, we can't carry on spending money from the reserves as we have been doing in the last 18 months. So what I hope and what I expect and what I pledge is that process will be reasonable, fair, and we'll be doing everything we can to make sure we support new businesses in the island, export facing ones relocating here for our internal market, but also, most importantly, the 5,000 or so businesses who are really already here to actually come out of the COVID period in a stronger state than they went into it through all sorts of policies that we have in mind. The next step is about your disappointment with how Brexit's turned out. In essence, there was a lot of talk about the opportunities. We want there to be opportunities, but it's going to be harder to realise those opportunities than it actually is to talk about them. So it seems to me the approach to that is going to have to be on a sectoral basis. I've become disappointed with the enterprise agencies in as much as they've become quite bureaucratic, it seems to me. The department has been in charge rather than it being a real public-private partnership. And I think that we've got a lot to learn from you guys as business people, and we should be listening. And I think we should basically cement that, and the idea behind that by actually empowering the agencies, perhaps even combining them into one agency with subcommittees in the different sectors, so that we really have business-led public-private partnerships rather than departmental-led public-private partnerships through the agencies. So I do hope that collectively the Chamber of Commerce in its various subcommittees and other organisations come forward and help us dismantle the Department for Enterprise as we've known it, and put together a new set of arrangements that's more focused on you. We now move on to climate change and the renewable sector. Essentially, that's one of the first decisions that the new government's got to get hold of. And my whole pitch at this election is that we've got to talk about the real challenges we face in the run-up to the election, and then before the government is formed, and before the Chief Minister is elected, and before ministers are put in place, we actually have to have an agreement what we're going to do in terms of the next 5 years, in terms of the big policies. And climate change is clearly one of those that we've got to settle. So one of the first questions to me is an interconnector to cleaner energy across, and also making a decision about how we generate electricity from our gas power station, blending it with hydrogen through the next decade. That will take 5 years probably to put in place those large-scale changes. So in the course of those coming 5 years, it seems to me that we've got to work with the green energy efficiency grants to actually make some progress, and we'll need to be involved with you in actually helping you make that transformation. And that leads on to the missed opportunity of biosphere. Biosphere has been seen as just being a sort of marketing opportunity, something that everybody can sign up to and pledge to. It is much more than that, and what matters is how we deal with the big four factors, which are how we generate electricity more cleanly, how we insulate and modernise and then heat our homes and also business premises, how we transport things, and also how we use land. And I really do hope that we can settle some of those things as soon as possible, so that we can use the years between 2022 and 2027 on a high ambition pathway to get to a better place for all of us. And that, in closing, we come to the point about diversification. The island, it's not a new idea, the island for the last decade has had over 20 sectors employing more than 500 people. That's wonderful, and it's necessary. We're more diversified, as Ernst & Young first said 10 years ago, than the other Crown dependencies and pretty much all other international business centres. We need to keep that, and that in itself can be helpful, because if we have a more diverse economy, A, it reduces the risk, but B, it provides more opportunities for different types of people. We've still got too many office-based jobs in the island relative to other sorts of jobs, and some of the sectors that we have are maturing, so we need to constantly be looking to newer sectors to grow, and that's over to you. I hope I will be elected in Douglas Central. I hope that you will be in touch, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the private sector in wonderful partnership. Thank you for this opportunity. Chris Thomas.